Welcome back, coin collectors, to another exciting episode of Coin Discovery Old Zone. Today video this coin 1985 South African 20 cents coin. It's not just any coin. This coin is valued at an astounding $1 million, but why is it worth so much? And what makes it so special? Stick around, because we're about to uncover its secrets. Grab your magnifying glass and let's get started. First, let's set the stage. The 20 cents coin was originally introduced in South Africa in 1961, and it has undergone several changes throughout its history. But the 1985 version stands out for several important reasons. Not only is it an essential piece of South Africa's numismatic history, but it also has a unique story that makes it highly coveted by collectors worldwide. This coin features the classic South African emblem on one side, showcasing the coined African springbok, a national symbol of South Africa. On the reverse side, you can see the denomination of 20 cents, accompanied by the date, 1985. The design reflects South Africa's rich cultural heritage and its intricate coinage history. But what truly makes this 1985 version so extraordinary? Well, there's one critical aspect that sets it apart from all others. You may be wondering, what's so special about the 1985 South African 20 cents coin that could make it worth $7 million? To put it simply, scarcity. This particular coin is one of the rarest in the world due to a major mintage error that occurred during its production. Here's where the story gets interesting. The error is often referred to as the 1985 Springbok minting mistake. Due to a production flaw, a limited number of 1,985 coins were minted with a unique flaw that is visible only when you examine the coin under close scrutiny. Notice how, on this specific coin, the Springbok animal's design is slightly off-center, with a peculiar misalignment of the details. This error makes the coin incredibly rare and increases its value exponentially, because only a small batch of these coins were made, and many were either lost or destroyed. This coin is considered a holy grail for numismatists. The value of these coins skyrocketed in the 2000s when collectors began to recognize the mistake, and some have fetched up to $7 million at auction. Okay, now that we know why this coin is so valuable, let's talk about how you can identify it. Here are the key features to look out for when determining if you have one of these rare $7 million coins. First, examine the Springbok stance. On the error coins, the animal's position is slightly off, giving it a distorted or slightly tilted look compared to standard issues. Also, check for any misalignment in the minting process. This could be in the date or denomination. The most crucial part is the off-center design of the Springbok. You won't see it on every coin, but if you look closely, it's like a fingerprint for these rare coins. It's important to have a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe, as these flaws are very small and not always visible to the naked eye. But when you spot them, it can feel like finding a hidden treasure. Now, let's take a quick dive into the history of South African coinage, so you can appreciate just how remarkable this 1985 coin is within the broader context of the country's monetary system. South Africa's coinage began in 1961, when it became a republic and moved away from British currency. The introduction of the Springbok design for the 20-cent coin was a part of this transition. Over the years, South Africa has produced several designs for coins, reflecting both the nation's economic changes and the artistic evolution of its minting process. The 1985 coin marked a period of political change in South Africa, with the country transitioning into the 1980s amidst global scrutiny. The Springbok design, though symbolic of national pride, also became emblematic of an era of major social and economic shifts. Let's talk about some of the auction records. The rare 1985 20 cents coin has sold at auction for millions, but the most expensive one was sold at Sotheby's in 2015, where it fetched an incredible $7 million. This price is absolutely unparalleled for a coin of this denomination. The auction houses that deal in high-end numismatics, such as Sotheby's and Christie's, have seen many of these rare coins pass through their doors. The intense bidding wars among collectors from around the world only add to the allure of these coins. One thing is for sure, the 1985 South African 20 cents coin is truly a treasure, not only because of its rarity but because it's tied to South Africa's history, which makes it a unique collector's piece. Before we wrap up, Let's talk about how to determine the value of your own coins if you think you might have one of these rare 1985 Springbok coins in your collection. First, have your coin professionally appraised ** by a numismatist or a trusted coin dealer. They'll look for the distinctive flaws we talked about earlier and determine its condition. A coin's grade can significantly impact its price. The better the condition, the higher the value. So, there you have it. The mystery and allure behind the 1985 South African 20-cent coin that could be worth $7 million piece of currency. Coin 1985 South African 50-cent coin. A coin that's not only filled with historical significance, but also an unbelievable value, potentially reaching up to $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. Stay tuned as we explore everything you need to know about this remarkable piece of history. Let's dive in. Before we talk about its mind-blowing value, let's break down the basics of this coin. The 1985 South African 50-cent coin was part of the series that was introduced in 1961, and it was minted as part of the coinage of South Africa during the time of the apartheid regime. Now, the design on this coin is really quite special. The 50-cent coin features the iconic Springbok, a symbol of South Africa's wildlife, on its reverse side. This animal is a national symbol of the country and has been featured on various coins and currency for decades. On the obverse side, we have the portrait of Jan van Riebeeck, the Dutch colonial administrator who is widely regarded as the founder of Cape Colony, which is now modern-day South Africa. He is depicted in traditional attire of the 17th century. Now, this coin was produced in a standard cupronickel alloy, which makes it durable and resistant to corrosion. It weighs about 13.3 grams with a diameter of 30 millimeters. So this is quite a hefty coin in your hands, giving it a real sense of value. But why is this coin worth so much today? Let's get into the history behind its incredible worth. In 1985, South Africa was facing significant political and social unrest, largely due to the apartheid system that was still in full effect. The country was also under heavy international sanctions, with many nations imposing trade embargoes and boycotts. During this time, the country's mint continued to produce currency, but certain coins were produced in limited quantities as part of special collections, making them far rarer than others. And that's where our coin enters the story. The 1985 South African 50-cent coin was actually produced in such a limited quantity that it quickly became a highly sought-after collector's item. The standard mintage was much smaller than anticipated, and some believe that many of these coins were melted down due to low demand at the time. However, a handful of them survived, and it wasn't until much later that their true value is recognized. Let's talk about rarity. The value of a coin is often determined by how many of them still exist in good condition. The 1985 South Africa 50-cent coin was initially not regarded as a major collector's item, and only recently, collectors started to realize how rare the coin was due to its limited production and the circumstances surrounding its release. However, a few years ago, a few pristine examples of this coin were discovered in various private collections. Some of these coins were graded at MS 67 or higher, which means they're in mint state with no noticeable wear or marks. This is where the true value comes in. Coins that are in perfect condition, with minimal wear, tend to fetch astronomical prices at auctions. So, why is this coin worth $8 million? Well, the story goes that in a high-profile auction, one of these 1985 South African 50-cent coins was sold for a jaw-dropping $8 million. This particular coin had been kept in a private collection for decades and was carefully preserved, maintaining its immaculate condition. It's important to note that this price is for the finest example of the 1985 50-cent coin. Not every 1985 50 cents is worth that much. Most will fall into a more modest range depending on their condition. Coins in average condition are typically valued around $500 to $1,000, but when you find one in pristine, uncirculated condition, the price tag skyrockets. Let's dive a bit deeper into what makes a coin like this worth so much money. There are several factors that influence a coin's value. First, we have rarity. As we discussed, the 1985 South African 50 cents was minted in smaller quantities, which immediately makes it rarer than many other coins. Next is condition. A coin's condition is graded using a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect. The better the condition, the higher the value. Thirdly, demand plays a huge role. As collectors become more aware of the rarity of these coins, the demand increases, which further drives up the price. And lastly, the historical significance of this coin makes it even more appealing. With South Africa's history being so unique and tumultuous, collectors want a piece of that history in their hands. So, how can you spot this valuable coin in your collection, or even in your pocket change? Let's go over the key identification features to help you know exactly what to look for. First, look at the year 1985 stamped on the coin. Next, check for the distinctive springbok on the reverse side. If you're able to get a magnifying glass, check the fine details. Any imperfections could lower the value. Also, ensure that the coin weighs 13.3 grams and has a diameter of 30 mm. If you're interested in starting your own coin collection or even making an investment in rare coins, there are a few tips to keep in mind. First, make sure to buy from trusted dealers or auction houses. Second, always store your coins in protective cases to prevent any damage. And third, keep an eye on the market. Prices for rare coins can fluctuate over time. That wraps up today's deep dive into the 1985 South African 50 cents coin. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a newcomer to the world of numismatics, this coin is a fascinating example of how history piece of currency. Coin 1985 1-cent coin, which, believe it or not, is worth a staggering $2 million. But wait, this isn't just any coin you can find in your pocket change. Today, we're diving into what makes this coin so valuable, the story behind it, and how you might get your hands on one. Stick with me for the next 15 minutes, because by the end of this video, you'll be a coin expert and might just discover that rare gem sitting somewhere close to you. Let's start with a bit of history. The 1985 South African 1-center coin is part of a series issued by the South African Reserve Bank. Now, South Africa, a country with a rich and complex history, has had multiple currency changes, especially during the 20th century. In the 1980s, South Africa was under apartheid rule, a politically and socially tumultuous time. During this period, the currency system reflected not just economic factors but also the changing political landscape. In 1985, the South African Mint produced a set of coins that included the 1 cent, 2 cent, 5 cent, 10 cent, 20 cent, and 50 cent pieces. At first glance, the 1 cent coin doesn't seem like it would have much value, but it was actually the design and production that would eventually make it one of the most collectible coins in the world. Now, let's talk about why this seemingly modest 1 cent coin can fetch an incredible $2 million. The key here is rarity. In numismatics, value is driven by several factors: rarity, demand, and condition. And when it comes to the 1985 1-cent coin, all three of these factors come into play. First off, most of the 1-cent coins from this year were mass-produced. However, there was a particular set of coins, those struck with a rare minting error. This error, which happened in the production process, led to the coin being unintentionally misaligned, giving it unique characteristics that make it stand out from the rest. As you can see here, the error coins are slightly misstruck. They are rare, and collectors are always on the lookout for coins like these that have a bit of imperfection, because that imperfection can lead to a huge leap in value. Some sources say that only a few hundred of these error coins exist, making them incredibly rare. When something is so scarce, collectors and investors start bidding up the price. And that's exactly what happened with the 1985 1-cent. So, why the massive value? It comes down to the fierce competition among collectors. Coins like these are like treasures, rare, historically significant, and deeply coveted. At coin auctions, a single 1985 1-cent coin with the minting error could go for millions. As collectors from around the world are willing to pay top dollar to complete their collections or make lucrative investments. The growing demand for rare South African coins, particularly ones from this era, has only added to the coin's allure. On online platforms like eBay or specialized coin auctions, you'll often see these coins fetching well over $1 million. Sometimes even more, depending on condition and the specifics of the mint error. Now, if you're out there searching through your collection or your spare change, how can you tell if you have one of these $1 million coins? Let's break it down. First, look for the misaligned strike I mentioned earlier. You should be able to see an off-center design, meaning the obverse and reverse of the coin aren't perfectly aligned. Second, pay attention to the wear and tear. Coins in mint or near mint condition are the ones that fetch the highest prices. Remember to keep your coins in good condition and protect them from corrosion or scratches. The more pristine, the more valuable. So there you have it, the 1985 South African 1 center coin. A little piece of history. This coin 1 Rand 1985 Viljoen South Africa coin, and it has an astonishing value of $45,500 now. You're probably wondering, what makes this coin so special? What gives it such a sky-high value? Well, stick around as we explore its history, design, rarity, and how it became one of the most sought-after coins in the world today. To understand the true value of the 1 Rand 1985 Viljoen, we first need to take a step back into the history of South Africa in the 1980s. At the time, the country was going through some turbulent times, politically and economically. South Africa was still under the apartheid regime, a system of institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination that would not end until 1994. The South African rand, which is the currency of South Africa, had been in use since 1961, replacing the pound. In the 1980s, inflation and political unrest were causing economic strain, but despite all that, the 1985 1 Rand coin would soon become one of the most legendary pieces of South African currency. Let's talk design. The 1985 Viljoen Rand was part of the South African government's coinage issue that featured prominent figures and symbols tied to the country's history. The coin was named after General Nicholas Jacobus Viljoen, a famous South African military leader. He played a significant role in the early days of the country's military efforts during the late 1800s. On the obverse side, you'll see an image of General Viljoen himself. This is one of the first things that makes this coin stand out. The level of detail in the engraving is truly remarkable, capturing his facial features with precision. On the reverse side, you'll notice the springbok antelope, a national symbol of South Africa, leaping gracefully. The springbok has always been a symbol of endurance and resilience, and it perfectly encapsulates the spirit of the nation during this turbulent era. Now, let's get to the juicy part. Why is this coin worth such a massive $45,500? Well, rarity plays a huge role in determining its value. Although millions of coins were minted in 1985, the Viljoen design had a few rare variants that were mistakenly released into circulation. These errors were initially overlooked by the general public, but coin collectors eventually realized that certain mints had a lower mintage. You see, out of all the 1 Rand 1985 coins, some had a rare variety or error in the minting process. These coins were part of a limited run that was accidentally struck with a different metal composition, giving them unique characteristics like unusual weight, size, or even slight design inconsistencies. That makes them highly sought after by collectors today. Coins like these are not only valuable because of their rarity, but also because they represent a piece of history. Every coin tells a story, and this one, in particular, represents the resilience of South Africa during a pivotal time in the country's history. When you hold one of these, you're holding a physical connection to a chapter in history. Now, when it comes to evaluating the value of rare coins, grading is everything. The 1 Rand 1985 Viljoen coin is no exception. Coins are graded based on their condition, whether they are uncirculated, proof, or somewhere in between. A coin in mint condition, or MS 70, which is the highest grade, will obviously command a premium price. The 1985 Viljoen Rand with a flawless design, sharp edges, and no signs of wear can push its price up to $45,500 or more. On the other hand, if the coin is worn or has noticeable scratches, its value can drop dramatically. So, you're probably wondering, how can I get my hands on one of these rare 1 Rand 1985 Viljoen coins? Well, you might be surprised to know that they can still occasionally pop up at coin shops, estate sales, or even online auctions. The key is to keep your eyes peeled and understand what to look for. If you're planning to hunt for one of these coins, make sure to check the authenticity of the coin. Look at the markings, the design details, and most importantly, the grade of the coin. This is where expert collectors often come in. because they know exactly what to look for. Not only does the 1 Rand 1985 Viljoen coin hold immense monetary value, but it has become a cultural and historical icon for collectors. It symbolizes a country on the brink of change, a time when South Africa was undergoing a transformation that would ultimately lead to the end of apartheid and the birth of a new nation. The value of this coin is not just tied to its scarcity, but also to the story it tells. If you own one of these, you're holding a piece of South African heritage that stood the test of time. So there you have it. The 1 Rand 1985 Viljoen South Africa coin. A true treasure in the world of coin collecting. Piece of currency. This coin, 5 Rand South Africa. The famous 1994 South African coins. These coins have captured the imaginations of collectors and investors alike due to their unique design, historical significance, and, of course, their soaring value. Some of these coins are worth millions today. So what makes these coins so special? Let's find out together. Let's break it down and uncover the fascinating story behind this remarkable piece of history to truly understand why a 1994 South African coin could be worth millions. We first need to look at the rich history of South African currency. South Africa, as a country with a turbulent political history, has seen many changes in its currency over the years. In 1994, South Africa was in a period of transition. The apartheid regime was coming to an end, and Nelson Mandela was elected as the first black president in the nation's history. The significance of this change is not just political, but also had a major impact on the country's currency. In fact, the year 1994 saw the introduction of a new set of coins. The 1994 South African coins were designed to represent this new era, one of unity, peace, and democracy. These coins would go on to become some of the most sought after in the world, especially by collectors. One of the standout coins from 1994 was the gold Krugerrand, a coin famous for its gold content, and its design featuring a bust of Paul Kruger, the former president of the South African Republic. It was first minted in 1967 and became the most widely traded gold coin in the world. The 1994 Krugerrand holds particular significance because it marks a milestone in South Africa's history. This specific 1994 edition of the Krugerrand was minted in honor of South Africa's first democratic elections. It's not just a coin, it's a piece of history. But did you know, one particular gold Krugerrand from that year has become one of the most valuable coins ever now? You may be wondering, what makes this specific 1994 South Africa Krugerrand worth $4 million? Well, this isn't just any regular Krugerrand. It's an extremely rare variation, a 1994 Krugerrand that was accidentally struck with a misprint, making it an error coin. And let me tell you, when it comes to rare coin collecting, error coins can skyrocket in value. This coin was mistakenly struck with an incorrect weight. It weighs significantly more than the standard Krugerrand. This error wasn't discovered until years later, and it became one of the most sought-after coins in the numismatic community. Error coins like this one can be incredibly valuable. Why? Because they are essentially one of a kind. A slight mistake during minting can make a coin stand out from all the others, which is precisely what happened here. This coin was the result of a special set of circumstances, including a minting process that was disrupted during the coin's production. The most crucial detail? The weight discrepancy. This particular coin weighed several grams more than a regular Krugerrand, making it a unique piece. But not just any coin collector could have known its true value when it was first minted. It wasn't until decades later that a keen-eyed numismatist recognized the error and brought the coin to the public's attention. That's when the bidding wars began. After the coin was discovered and authenticated, it was put up for auction by one of the most renowned auction houses in the world. What happened next was absolutely incredible. The bidding war for this rare 1994 South African Krugerrand escalated to an unbelievable $4 million. But what's really interesting about this is how this coin is a perfect example of how value is determined in the world of numismatics. It's not always about the metal content or the rarity alone. The backstory, the error, the historical significance, all of these factors play into the value of a coin. And let me tell you, The fact that this coin represents the end of apartheid and the dawn of a new era for South Africa, that just adds to its allure. Now, you may be asking, how can I find a coin like this? Well, finding such a rare coin is no easy feat. It's about patience, knowledge, and sometimes a little bit of luck. Coin collectors spend years building their collections, and each piece holds its own unique story. Coins like this Krugerrand show us that value isn't just about monetary worth. It's also about the history they represent. A coin can be a reflection of its time, a window into the past, and a link to the events that shaped our world. For many collectors, rare coins are more than just collectibles. They are an investment. But how can you start collecting rare coins, and what should you look out for? When it comes to investing, rarity, historical significance, and condition are key factors. In some cases, like this 1994 Krugerrand, errors or mistakes in minting can make a coin worth significantly more than its face value. If you're interested in starting a coin collection, make sure to do thorough research. Visit reputable coin shops, attend numismatic conventions, and connect with fellow collectors. And remember, don't just buy any coin because of its potential value. A true collector treasures the history and story behind every coin. So, there you have it. The incredible story of the 1994 South African Krugerrand that sold for a jaw-dropping $4 million. It's a coin that embodies the changing times in South Africa, and one that will forever be remembered in numismatic history. This coin, 1997 South Africa 20-cent coin, a coin that has recently been linked to a mind-blowing value of $3 million. I know what you're thinking. How could a simple 20-cent coin from South Africa be worth such an astronomical amount? Well, grab your magnifying glass, because today we're going to uncover the mystery behind this incredibly rare and valuable. The 1997 South Africa 20-cent coin is part of South Africa's standard coin series. Introduced in the mid-90s after the country's democratic transition, this coin features some beautiful, intricate designs, but it's the history behind it that really elevates its value. On the obverse side, you'll notice the portrait of the legendary Nelson Mandela, South Africa's first black president after the end of apartheid, which marks this as a significant historical coin. And on the reverse side, we have the iconic image of a small springbok, which is South Africa's national symbol. The springbok is famous for its agility, and it's been a symbol of the country's strength and resilience for decades. But here's where things get interesting. While most 1997 20-cent coins are still in circulation, there's a rare variety of this coin that's making waves in the collector community. This specific coin was struck in an extremely limited number, and it's that rarity that's led to the coin's high value. So why is this coin so valuable? Well, in 1997, South Africa's mint released a set of 20-cent coins as part of a new series. However, during the production process, a small batch of 20-cent coins was struck with a minor error, and this is what makes them so valuable today. Some of these coins were minted with a unique and rare feature. They were accidentally produced with a double die, meaning that the design was stamped twice on the same coin. This error created subtle differences in the appearance of the coin, making it stand out from other 20-cent pieces. The coins with this error are now regarded as mistakes, and in the world of numismatics, mistakes can be worth a lot of money. Now, here's where the story takes an even more interesting turn. In recent years, one of these error coins surfaced at an auction and completely shocked the numismatic community. Experts estimated the value of the coin at $3 million due to its rarity, the historical significance of the year 1997, and the error it contained. That's right, $3 million. And here's the kicker. This coin wasn't even in mint condition. It had been circulated, so it wasn't pristine. But because of its rarity and the fact that it had the double die error, it commanded such an extraordinary price. So what makes a coin like this fetch such a high price at an auction? There are several factors, including rarity, demand, condition, and historical context. But in this case, it was mainly the rarity of the error that made it so desirable to collectors and investors alike. Now, you might be wondering, how can I tell if I have one of these rare, valuable coins in my collection? Well, I've got you covered. Here's how you can spot a potential 1997 South Africa 20-cent error coin. First, you want to look for the double die error. To do this, inspect the design, especially the features of the springbok and the lettering. If you see a slight double outline or a doubled image, that's a sign of the error. Be sure to use a magnifying glass to catch even the smallest of details. Next, check the overall condition. While the coin doesn't have to be perfect, the better its condition, the more valuable it will be. Coins with minimal wear and tear typically command higher prices. So what does this mean for the market? Is it just the 1997 20-cent coin that's valuable? Or are there other coins from the same era that are also fetching high prices? Well, the coin market has exploded in recent years, and rare coins like this one are driving that growth. Many collectors and investors are actively searching for error coins, particularly those that have historical significance. And South African coins, in particular, have become incredibly popular due to their connection to the country's rich history and the global interest in Mandela-era memorabilia. To wrap things up, the 1997 South Africa 20-cent coin is a prime example of how a small error can create a massive value in the world of numismatics. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting your journey, this coin is a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected pieces can hold the greatest value. So, check your coin collections, folks. You might just have a hidden treasure worth millions piece of currency. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe. Coin Discovery Old Zone. See you next video.